Most people think stupidity is about low IQ, lack of education, or not knowing big words. That's the common belief. A stupid man is simply an uninformed man. But the truth is far more subtle and far more dangerous. A stupid man isn't defined by what he knows. He's defined by what he says, how he thinks, and the patterns he repeats without ever realizing the damage he's causing to his own life. In fact, some of the most foolish men speak with absolute confidence. They talk loudly, quickly, and carelessly. And if you aren't paying attention, you might mistake their noise for intelligence. But here's the contrarian truth the Stoics understood long before modern psychology echoed it. A man reveals his ignorance long before he reveals his intentions. He reveals it through his words. Because words expose mindset. Mindset exposes character, and character determines destiny. On Stoic Pathway, we've broken down hundreds of human patterns, psychological traps, and timeless Stoic teachings. And after years of analyzing behavior, one thing is clear. You can tell more about a man's wisdom, or lack of it, by listening to the 7 careless phrases he repeats over and over. These aren't the obvious cliches. These are the subtle, self-sabotaging things foolish men say without even realizing they're confessing their own weakness. So if you want to understand people better, if you want to avoid the mindset traps that keep men stuck, and if you want to recognize these 7 signs before they silently ruin your relationships, opportunities, and future, then this video will be one of the most eye-opening lessons you'll watch today. Let's break down the 7 things a stupid man always says. Number 1. Why is this happening to me? This is one of the most revealing things a foolish man says because it exposes a victim mindset. When someone constantly asks, "Why is this happening to me?" he assumes life is targeting him specifically. He acts as if the universe is unfair, people are out to get him, and every inconvenience is a personal attack. But the Stoic truth is simple. Life isn't happening to you. Life is simply happening. Challenges, setbacks, mistakes, and frustrations are part of everyone's experience. Wise people see difficulties as normal. Foolish people see difficulties as persecution. The moment a man believes he is the chosen victim, he stops thinking clearly, stops acting responsibly, and starts blaming everything except himself. Here's how to shift out of this mindset. Every time something frustrating happens, a failed plan, a rude person, a loss, a delay, replace the question, "Why is this happening to me?" with, "What can I learn or do next?" This simple shift moves you from helpless to capable. Instead of thinking, "People always disrespect me," think, "What boundary do I need to set?" Instead of, "I can't believe this is happening," try, "What's the best response right now?" Instead of "Life is unfair," ask, "What skill or strength is this moment trying to build in me?" You can even take 30 seconds to breathe, detach emotionally, and observe the situation like an outsider. When you stop viewing yourself as a victim, you stop reacting like one. This matters because the phrase, "Why is this happening to me?" keeps you stuck, angry, frustrated, and powerless. It locks you into emotion instead of action. And when you zoom out, you realize something crucial. This victim question is always followed by another foolish habit: refusing to take responsibility. If you don't overcome the next one, this mindset becomes permanent. Number 2, someone should fix this. This phrase exposes a deeper truth about a foolish mindset, the belief that responsibility belongs to everyone else. When a man constantly says, "Someone should fix this," he assumes problems exist outside of him and that solutions should come from others. It reveals entitlement, helplessness, and a lack of initiative. The Stoic perspective is brutally different. If you see a problem, you are part of the solution. Whether that solution is action, influence, leadership, or even adjusting your own mindset, ownership is the foundation of wisdom. But foolish men avoid ownership because it forces them to confront their own role, their own power, and their own potential. And confronting those things feels uncomfortable, so they push responsibility outward. Here's how to flip this mindset. Whenever you catch yourself thinking, "Someone should fix this," Ask, what part of this can I influence right now? You don't have to solve everything. Just engage with the part you can control. If your relationship is struggling, don't say, she needs to change. Instead, ask, what can I communicate clearly? If your workplace is chaotic, don't say, management is useless. Ask, what can I organize or improve in my own process? If your finances are a mess, don't say, the economy is terrible. Ask, what habit or decision can I take responsibility for starting today? These small shifts build personal power, because the moment you take ownership, you stop being a passive observer and start being an active participant. This teaching matters because blaming others keeps you stagnant. If you're always waiting for someone else to fix the problem, you'll wait your whole life. Taking responsibility doesn't guarantee immediate results, but it guarantees progress. And here's the bigger picture. A man who pushes responsibility away also tends to contradict himself constantly, saying one thing and doing another. That's why the next lesson is crucial. Number 3, I deserve better. This phrase sounds empowering on the surface, but when a foolish man says, I deserve better, he's rarely talking about self-worth. He's talking about entitlement. He believes he should receive more without giving more. He thinks he should be respected without being respectable. He wants rewards without effort, praise without excellence, and loyalty without consistency. The Stoic view is very different. You don't deserve better simply because you want better. You deserve what you consistently earn through your actions and character. Wisdom teaches that life doesn't improve because you believe you're worthy. It improves because you become someone worthy. To shift out of this entitlement trap, replace I deserve better with a more truthful and empowering question. Have my actions earned better? If you want better relationships, don't say you deserve them. Become a better communicator, a better partner, a better listener. If you want better opportunities, don't wait for them. Upgrade your skills, discipline, and consistency. If you want better treatment from others, don't demand it. Set boundaries, carry yourself with dignity, and model the behavior you expect. You can even turn entitlement into accountability by asking, how can I become the kind of person whose life naturally improves? This mindset attracts growth instead of resentment. Remember, improvement isn't owed, it's created. You don't get better by complaining, you get better by evolving. This matters because the phrase, I deserve better, tricks a man into believing the world is cheating him. It blinds him to his own flaws and blocks him from taking action. And here's the bigger picture. Entitlement always leads to the next foolish habit. Comparing yourself to others and assuming you're above them. If you don't break that mindset, progress becomes impossible. Number 4, I'm too busy. When a foolish man says I'm too busy, it's rarely about having a full schedule. It's about avoiding responsibility, accountability, or growth. This phrase sounds productive, but it's actually a shield. A shield that hides procrastination, lack of discipline, or poor prioritization. The Stoic truth is this: no one is too busy. They are simply prioritizing something else. Every man has the same 24 hours. The difference is how clearly he sees what actually matters. Wise men create time for what is essential. Foolish men claim they have no time at all. To break this habit, start by being brutally honest with yourself. When you say, I'm too busy, ask, am I busy or am I avoiding? If you say you're too busy to work out, you might actually be choosing comfort. If you say you're too busy to call a loved one, you might be prioritizing distraction. If you say you're too busy to improve your skills, you might be avoiding discomfort or self-doubt. A practical method: rewrite I'm too busy as it's not a priority. Watch how it changes your perspective. I'm too busy to exercise becomes exercise is not a priority. I'm too busy to learn becomes my growth is not a priority. I'm too busy to fix my life becomes fixing my life is not a priority. If that sentence feels wrong, good. It means you've been lying to yourself. Next, use the 10-minute rule. If a task is important but overwhelming, do just 10 minutes. This kills the excuse and builds discipline fast. Busyness is often a disguise for a disorganized mind. Clarity kills the excuse. This teaching matters because "I'm too busy" is the fastest way to stay stuck. It convinces you that your lack of progress is out of your control, when in reality, it's your decisions that shape your results. And when you zoom out, you'll notice something powerful. Men who claim they're too busy are often the same men who say whatever comes to their mind without thinking. That's why the next lesson is critical. Number 5. I had no choice. When a foolish man says "I had no choice," what he's really doing is surrendering his own agency. He's declaring himself powerless, as if life cornered him, circumstances controlled him, and his actions were forced. But the Stoic truth is brutally clear. You always have a choice, even if the choices aren't comfortable, easy, or pleasant. Saying "I had no choice" is simply another way of avoiding responsibility. It means, don't blame me, I wasn't in control. But wise men know that even in difficult situations, they still choose their attitude, their response, and the meaning they attach to events. To break this habit, start by replacing "I had no choice" with "I chose the easiest option," or "I chose based on fear, comfort, or emotion." This level of honesty stings, but it forces personal growth. For example, if you snapped at someone, don't say "you had no choice." Say, "I chose anger instead of patience." If you stayed in a bad situation, don't say "you had no choice." Say, "I chose not to leave yet." If you procrastinated, don't say "you had no choice." Say, "I chose avoidance." Every time you acknowledge your choices, you reclaim control. A powerful technique is to list at least 3 choices in any problem, even if they're uncomfortable. The brave choice, the wise choice, the comfortable choice. You'll quickly realize you always had options, you just didn't like them. This teaching matters because believing you had no choice is the mindset that kills growth. It makes you passive, weak, and dependent on excuses. But once you accept that you always choose, even through inaction, you regain your power. You become someone who shapes life instead of being shaped by it. However, this shift leads to another uncomfortable truth. A man who believes he has no choice is often the same man who refuses to learn anything new, because learning exposes his excuses. That's why the next lesson is essential. Number 6, people don't appreciate me. When a foolish man says "people don't appreciate me," he exposes a mindset built on validation, not value. He believes appreciation is something he is automatically owed. He wants recognition without consistency, praise without excellence, and gratitude without contribution. But the Stoic truth is this: appreciation is not something you demand, it's something you attract. The moment you start expecting others to constantly acknowledge your efforts, you set yourself up for resentment and disappointment. People aren't obligated to notice everything you do, and wise men know that the reward for good action is the action itself, not applause. To break this mindset, replace "people don't appreciate me" with a more grounded question. Am I doing this for validation, or because it's the right thing? If you help others, help because it aligns with your values, not because you're waiting for a thank you. If you work hard, work to build your life, not to be admired for it. If you support someone, don't expect them to repay the gesture in the exact way you imagined. A practical technique: track your actions privately, not publicly. Keep a journal where you list the good things you do, not to brag, but to build internal accountability. This trains your brain to appreciate yourself instead of depending on others to do it for you. Also, practice giving appreciation without expecting it back. Ironically, the more genuine gratitude you give, the more naturally it comes your way. This teaching matters because a man who constantly complains about not being appreciated becomes emotionally needy, easily offended, and quick to feel victimized. He gives others the power to define his worth. When you stop chasing appreciation, you become stronger, more grounded, and much harder to manipulate. But there's one more phrase that reveals even deeper insecurity. and it destroys relationships faster than anything else. The moment a man starts saying, "That's just who I am," he stops growing completely. That's why the next lesson is critical. 7. That's impossible. When a foolish man says, "That's impossible," he isn't describing reality, he's describing his limits. This phrase exposes a closed mind. A man who uses it often doesn't mean this genuinely cannot be done. He means, "I don't believe I can do it," or "I don't want to try," or "I'm afraid of failing." The Stoic perspective is different. Very few things are truly impossible. What feels impossible is usually unfamiliar, uncomfortable, or requires a version of you that you haven't built yet. Wise men observe challenges with curiosity. Foolish men dismiss challenges to protect their ego. Saying, "That's impossible," is how a man convinces himself to stop before he starts. Whenever you catch yourself saying "that's impossible," replace it with, "What would make this possible?" This simple shift forces your brain to look for solutions instead of shutting down. For example, if starting a business feels impossible, ask, "What's the first small step?" If changing your habits feels impossible, ask, "What's the smallest version of this behavior I can start today?" If improving your mind feels impossible, ask, "What daily practice could I commit to for 10 minutes?" Another powerful technique is the evidence check. List 3 examples of people who have done something similar. If others can do it, it's not impossible. It's just difficult. And difficult is not a reason to quit. Difficult is a reason to grow. You can also challenge the belief directly by reframing it. Instead of, "That's impossible," say, "I don't know how yet." That one word, "yet," opens the door to progress. This teaching matters because once a man labels something as impossible, he stops thinking, stops trying, and stops evolving. Impossible is the word that kills potential before it's ever tested. But when you remove that word from your vocabulary, your life expands, your mind expands, your possibilities expand. And now that all 7 foolish phrases are exposed, it's time to tie everything together. Because the conclusion reveals the real reason these phrases destroy a man's future and how to break free from them permanently. Let's move to the conclusion. Conclusion. When you look at all 7 phrases together, a pattern becomes obvious. None of these statements are just words. They are windows into a man's mindset. A foolish man exposes himself long before he fails. He reveals his weakness through the excuses he repeats, the responsibility he avoids, the limits he sets on himself, and the stories he tells to protect his ego. Why is this happening to me? Someone should fix this. I deserve better. I'm too busy. I had no choice. People don't appreciate me. That's impossible. Each of these phrases strips away a layer of personal power. Each one pulls a man deeper into blame, denial, and stagnation. And the dangerous part? Most men who say these things don't even realize the damage they're doing to their own life. But you, just by watching this video, have already stepped into the opposite direction. You're choosing awareness over denial, responsibility over excuses, growth over stagnation, and that already sets you apart. Here on Stoic Pathway, our mission is simple: to help you think stronger, live wiser, and rise above the mental traps that keep most men stuck. If this video opened your eyes, even a little, do me one favor. Like the video so it reaches more people who need this message. Share it with someone who could benefit from hearing these truths. And drop a comment telling me which phrase you hear the most, or which one you're ready to eliminate from your life. Thanks for watching, and remember, your words shape your mindset. Your mindset shapes your actions, and your actions shape your destiny. See you in the next video.